to have to close because the New York State government was cutting them their $294,000 grant.
That's so small.
I was outraged, especially with a budget of $121 billion with stimulus money coming in. I was outraged that they couldn't even consider this program, especially in light of this comparison. There is a Governor's Island in Manhattan where New York State had no problem wasting $500,000 to buy a ferry that couldn't even work. They had no problem spending $500,000 on that, this rusted hunk of junk. Yet, they felt that a program like Adelphi, which helps not just victims
Oh, the
of breast
families.
cancer, but the families,
Yes,
they couldn't give them $294,000. I thought that was outrageous.
Yeah.
So, I mobilized with Mark Alessi and working with Brian Foley in the Senate and other senators, we were able to make sure that money got restored. And I'm proud, to do that. I'm hopeful that one day they won't need the money because we'll have been able to find the cure.
Yeah.
But that day is long in coming. I remember President Nixon in the 70s said that he was going to find a cure to cancer in 5 years. And well, we're almost 40 years later since that proclamation and we're still fighting it. But the day is going to come eventually. But until it does, we need programs like Adelphi.
Right.
We need the programs that's come out of Cornell to find what's causing it, but also to make sure that the women have the resources necessary, have that place to go to talk about it, have the ability to call up and say, hey, where do I find this resource or that resource? New York State doesn't provide that. They have a hotline, but it's not really very well manned, and it doesn't have the resource. Here, this one's staffed by women who have suffered from disease.
I know, it's wonderful.
And it's such an important program. And so
it
was easy. And it's that's why I'm in public service, is to make sure groups like Adelphi are protected.
It's vital.
Yep.
So thank you. Another interesting subject that I just read about in the paper is that you helped pass a bill for a 5-year pilot program to deploy 50 red light cameras in Nassau County at different intersections.
Yep.
So do you think that really will prevent fatalities? And
I do. This has been an issue that's been ongoing for a number of years, and it's something that New York City already has the program in place. And in fact, for your viewers who live in Great Neck, when you're driving on Northern Boulevard and you cross over into Queens, right by the Stop and Shop at McDonald's, don't blow through the red light because there's a red light camera there. I just know.
You're giving us the heads up.
It's there already. But and now that people know that, they will be more careful. The same thing here is that it will help stop the illegalities that motorists oftentimes commit. We need to prevent auto fatalities. We need to get our drivers to slow down. Red light cameras work and will be helpful. And, obviously there is money that will come in through the fines, but the purpose of the red light cameras really is to crack down on the motorists. They're going to go to the 50 intersections that are known to be the highest rates of accidents as well as violations, and this is a good thing, and it's important to get it done. Some people claim it's a big brother type of situation. I like to view it as more of technology, also allowing our police and our great Nassau County Police as well as our local police departments to disperse the resources to other locations and use the cameras as another line of defense.
Yeah, that's good. And speaking of transportation, another very hot subject is what's going on with the MTA right now. And as I understand, you are against instituting the payroll tax and then a lot of the cuts that they want to make, especially to the Port Washington line.
Sure. Look, I don't support fare hikes or service cuts. But let's talk about this entity called the MTA. I don't believe them. I don't believe the MTA. This is an institution, an authority that is notorious when it comes to, how do I say it, misleading the public. They were found to have multiple sets of books and records when it came to their finances. This is a group that has no problem giving out free easy passes to members of its board. This is an authority. One of the most important things it's tasked with is the capital program, the MTA capital program, the building of the Second Avenue subway, or addressing the capital needs for Long Island Railroad. The board member in charge of this is so dedicated to her position that she thinks she has more time to cavort with Paul McCartney than deal with the MTA capital problem. The MTA is broken. And the way they want to fix it is they want to put and create a new tax
Right.
on a 12-county region. The problem with that is the tax will be passed down onto the property taxpayer.
Right, small businesses, people.
The mom and pops, that we are struggling in an economy right now. And there's no doubt that in our $17.7 billion budget, we did institute certain new taxes. And it was a tough decision to make. But do they really need now this new payroll tax that is going to go to an MTA that it's quite likely that many of these mom and pop small businesses don't rely on the MTA? But let's talk about our school districts. Our school districts right now are working as hard as they can to keep their costs contained and trying so desperately not to raise property taxes.
Right.
Well, now we're instituting a payroll tax. And so they're going to be tasked with a choice. In order to pay for it, are you going to eliminate positions, or are you going to raise your property taxes to pay for it? Essentially, what the MTA has done is create this false choice of it's either going to be service cuts or a payroll tax. I disagree. The MTA needs to allow a forensic outside auditor to come in and look at their books and records.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to
First.
say, hasn't anybody gone in there and tried to?
Here's the problem.
Check 'em.
They've offered their books and they have said, here, we've prepared our books and records, we're in a deficit. And when we've tried and said, well, that's not good enough, let us come in and actually do it, their response is, no, 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 just have your auditors look at the statements that we prepared. That's not good enough. No. They haven't addressed their labor costs yet. Their cost overruns. They've got projects they've got cost overruns on. They've got unused and underutilized assets that they could either sell or lease and bring in revenue.
So there are things that they can definitely
There's
do.
absolutely things that they can do, and they won't do it. And so now they've tried to bring us to the brink of claiming fare increases or service cuts. And if you don't do this plan, well, you know what? I'm not going to do the plan.
Right.
I'm not going to allow the MTA to continue to do it. I'm a bankruptcy lawyer by trade, and what I know is that when you have a debtor that is looking for new money, the entity that has the new money is allowed to dictate the terms. Right. It's not vice versa. And so if the MTA wants new money, then they should be doing everything they can to demonstrate the need for the new money and not just simply say, we need the money.
Well, that's great. Thank you for clearing that up for us and making it known, because I think a lot of us do not know what's going on the inside over there.
Sure.
So thank you. And unfortunately, we're out of time.
That's too bad.
But thank you so much for joining us
questions.
today.
They're terrific.
And I really enjoyed getting to know you, and you're always invited back.
Thank you, Pam. Appreciate it.
All right. So I would like to thank Senator Craig Johnson once again. And if you wanted some information to contact him or his website, it'll be included in the credits. This program is produced by PATV's Women in Technology project. For information about PATV and this project, stay tuned for our credits. Thank you for tuning in to PATV. I'm Pam Parker for Women in Technology.